Welcome to the deep dive. You've sent in your sources, and we're going beyond just a quick look. We're really digging in to find those key insights for you.
Yeah, think of it as, well, helping you get properly informed without all the usual information overload.
Exactly. And for this deep dive, we're focusing on a source submitted as pasted text. The request was about finding, real practical ways to get better at speaking English when you're learning alone.
Right, so maybe you don't have a language partner handy.
Yeah.
That's okay. Our goal here is to pull out strategies from this source that you can actually use, maybe even starting today.
And this pasted text, it's actually a conversation. It's between Emma and Jake from English Podcast Studio. And honestly, they offer some really solid, encouraging tips. Very actionable stuff for solo practice.
Okay, let's jump in now.
So the first idea they bring up, it seems almost too simple at first glance, just naming objects around you out loud.
But there's more to it, really. It
Yeah.
sounds basic. This is a table. I see a chair. But doing that starts priming your brain, in a really fundamental way.
Right, like they say, just label your environment. There's a window. And I thought the important bit was what they said about not overthinking it.
Exactly. Don't worry about perfection.
Yeah, it's just about getting comfortable, like hearing yourself speak English. One easy sentence, then another.
Precisely. It lowers that barrier to actually, speaking. The point isn't perfect grammar right now, or sounding like a native speaker yet.
It's about making that direct link, isn't it? Object to English word, skipping the translation in your head.
Yes, that's the core of it. Because, well, like Emma and Jake say, fluency doesn't come from being perfect. It comes from doing it, practicing.
Each time you name something, you're kind of reinforcing that pathway, building like muscle memory for speaking.
That's a great way to put it, building those speaking muscles. And the next step they suggest follows right on from that. It's describing your actions.
So not just static things, but what you're doing.
Yeah, verbalizing your current actions. I'm listening to a podcast, which, hey, you might be doing right now.
Maybe. Or, I'm holding my phone, I'm sitting down, just narrating your present moment.
And the real value there, they suggest, is keeping yourself in that English mode all day long.
Even tiny actions.
Especially the tiny actions. I'm opening a bottle, I'm walking. These little bits of self-talk, if you do them consistently, they really start to train your brain.
And that ties into the big goal for a lot of learners, right? Thinking directly in English.
Absolutely. Cutting out that step where you translate everything from your native language first,
Yeah.
that takes time and energy.
So by constantly linking actions with English words.
You're building those direct pathways in your brain.
Yeah.
And like they point out, being alone is actually an advantage here.
Oh, right. No need to feel awkward or self-conscious.
Nope, it's just you practicing your English thoughts.
Okay, this next one, this is interesting. It takes that self-talk up a notch. Talking to yourself like you would to a friend.
Yeah, this one might feel a bit strange at first,
Yeah.
but it's a really powerful technique, actually. They suggest having a sort of internal dialogue, role-playing, basically.
So you'd actually say like, hey, how was your day?
And then you answer yourself, oh, my day was pretty good, thanks. You become your own conversation partner.
That's clever. And they even suggest, kind of playfully, arguing with yourself in English.
Yes. It sounds funny, but think about what that makes you do. You have to formulate different viewpoints, build arguments, respond, all in English.
That would definitely exercise your thinking skills in the language, keep you generating English even when you're alone.
For sure. It strengthens those speaking skills, as they say.
Yeah.
And they stress that you are your language partner here. So be expressive. Use emotion.
Bringing feelings into it.
Yes, that emotional connection makes the language stick, makes it feel real. Expressing happiness, frustration, whatever. It's not just reciting words anymore.
It gives it personal meaning, helps you remember it better.
Exactly. Okay, so building on that, how about weaving daily routines into the practice?
Seems like a natural fit after describing actions.
It is. They suggest consciously saying your routines out loud. I wake up at 7 a.m. I brush my teeth. I make coffee.
Turning those automatic habits into speaking practice.
Right. And you can take it further, like mentally list out your day in English sentences.
Oh, and then practice saying them while you're actually doing the chores.
Precisely. While washing dishes. Okay, now I'm washing the plates, cooking. First I'm chopping onions, then I'll boil water.
It integrates the practice right into your life, so it's less like, homework.
Exactly. And the main point Emma and Jay keep hitting is the more you speak, even alone, the more fluent you become.
Yeah.
Solitude can be practice time, not silence.
Makes sense. So next up is mirror talk, adding a visual element.
This is about how seeing yourself speak can actually affect your confidence and maybe even how clearly you speak.
So literally stand in front of a mirror and talk to your reflection. Won't feel a bit odd.
It might, initially. But they point out real benefits. You notice your facial expressions, your body language when you speak English.
So it helps connect the words with the feeling behind them and builds confidence generally.
That's the idea. They suggest maybe just 5 minutes a day, talk about your day, your plans, how you're feeling.
And they even mention smiling. How does that help?
Apparently, it can make your tone sound more positive, more engaging, more natural.
Interesting. So it tackles the speaking skill and how you feel about yourself as an English speaker. Seeing yourself do it makes it more real, less scary.
Exactly. Breaks down some of those mental barriers.
Okay, moving on to storytelling. This feels like a good way to practice longer sentences, connecting ideas.
Totally. They suggest telling short stories. And the cool part is, they can be true or completely made up.
So like, yesterday I went to the park, or something totally imaginative, I met a talking cat.
Yeah. The story itself doesn't have to be, realistic. The point is just to speak, to get used to forming sentences that follow each other, practicing sequencing thoughts in English.
Building that narrative muscle, like you said earlier.
Right. And if you practice short stories regularly, you start linking ideas more smoothly in English. It gets easier to go from one thought to the next. Plus, it can be quite fun, using your imagination.
Okay, next focus. Talking about future plans. Good way to practice the future tense, I guess.
Definitely. They recommend using simple future forms. Tomorrow, I will study. Next week, I will try a new recipe. This weekend, I will call my family.
Simple stuff. And they also suggest, planning your whole day in English? Even if the plans aren't set in stone.
It's about getting comfortable forming sentences about the future. And crucially, hearing yourself say them.
Right. That act of speaking and hearing your own voice is key.
Super important. That repetition, that self-listening, builds fluency and confidence with that specific grammar point, the future tense.
Okay, next up, expressing feelings. We touched on this, but this is focusing specifically on it. Seems important for connecting personally with the language.
It really is. Emma and Jake encourage consciously verbalizing emotions. I feel happy today. I'm a little tired. I'm excited for the weekend, or even I'm feeling frustrated with this.
And they say this creates a deeper connection.
Yes, because the words aren't abstract anymore. They directly relate to your inner state. That emotional link makes the vocabulary stick better.
So be honest about it, even when alone.
Absolutely. Makes it feel less like schoolwork and more like real communication, real self-expression.
Okay, how about describing memories? That sounds good for practicing the past tense.
Spot on. They suggest talking about past events. Short, clear sentences are best to start. When I was a child, I used to play outside. I visited a friend last month. I drank tea this morning.
Simple past tense practice.
Right. It helps you recount things, obviously, but also helps you get more natural with past tense verbs and time phrases like last month or this morning.
And starting simple makes it less intimidating. Focus on getting the tense right without worrying about complex sentences yet.
Exactly. Build that foundation first.
Now, shifting gears to practicing questions. That's so essential for actual conversation.
Totally. They recommend asking yourself questions and then answering them out loud. Like, what did I eat for breakfast? And then answer, I ate cereal and fruit. Or, what time is it? It's 2:30.
Like a little mental workout for your English brain?
It is. You're not just receiving info, you're actively creating both sides of the exchange. It trains your brain to think faster in English.
So you're practicing that conversational back and forth, even solo, getting quicker at responding.
Precisely. Sharpening that ability to just generate English on the spot.
Okay, this next one sounds kind of fun. Imagining a phone call. Simulating a real scenario.
Yeah, it's a great exercise. You role play the call, but you have to do both sides. So you say, hello? Then immediately switch and answer, hi, it's imagined name.
And practice common topics like weather, weekend plans.
Things you'd actually talk about on the phone.
What's really good about that is you're not just saying random sentences, you're practicing the whole flow, right? Greetings, questions, answers, responding in context.
Exactly, the natural rhythm of a conversation.
Okay, the what if game. Sounds like it gets the imagination going and helps with conditionals.
It really does. Emma and Jake suggest this to encourage speaking using if and would. You pose a hypothetical. What if I could fly?
And then answer it. If I could fly, I would visit my friends more often.
Right. It pushes you to think creatively in English and use those conditional structures if would in a more natural way, not just memorizing grammar rules. Plus, it's a low-stakes way to try out slightly more complex sentences. No pressure, just you and your imagination playing with English.
Makes sense. Then there's practicing comparisons, good for using adjectives actively.
Yeah, they suggest consciously comparing things around you. This pen writes better than that one. My tea is colder than my coffee now. This chair is less comfortable than the sofa.
So you're really reinforcing how to use comparative adjectives better, colder, less comfortable, makes your descriptions sharper.
And using real objects makes it very concrete, very connected to your immediate world.
Okay, describing people. That's a really practical skill. How do they suggest practicing that alone?
Well, they say you should make an effort to describe people you know. Appearance, personality, or even make up characters.
So, my brother is tall and has dark hair, he's very funny. Or, the woman in the painting looks sad.
Exactly. Or even, I imagine a character who is short, wears glasses, and loves reading. It builds your vocabulary for describing people and just general descriptive practice.
Practicing with real and imaginary people gives you lots of scope.
For sure. Recall details or invent them. Good practice either way.
Giving directions, that's super practical. How can you practice that alone?
They suggest giving directions out loud, even just around your own home.
Like to get to the kitchen, go straight down the hall, turn right.
Or describing where something is. The book is on the shelf next to the plant. It helps you internalize all those keywords: straight, left, right, next to, on top of.
And starts you thinking spatially in English, which is really useful for real-life situations.
Definitely. And using your familiar home means you can focus just on the English, not on getting lost. Builds confidence safely.
Okay, talking about habits is next. Good chance to use adverbs of frequency, I suppose.
That's exactly it. They suggest talking about your routines using words like usually, always, sometimes, never, often.
I usually have breakfast at 8. I always check my email first thing. I sometimes go for a walk after dinner.
Right. It helps you get really comfortable using these common adverbs naturally when you talk about your day-to-day life.
And because it's your habits, it's relevant and easy to remember and repeat.
Makes the learning stick better, yeah.
Expressing opinions, vital for communication. How do they suggest practicing that solo?
Keep it simple to start. Use phrases like, I think, or in my opinion.
So just state your view on something. I think learning online is convenient. In my opinion, this podcast is helpful.
Hopefully. Yes, exactly. It builds confidence in just putting your viewpoint out there in English, even on simple things.
Keeping the opening phrase simple lets you focus on the opinion itself.
Right. No need to get tangled in complex grammar just yet.
Okay, talking about wishes. This uses slightly trickier grammar, but it's very expressive.
It is. They suggest using wish for desires or regrets. I wish I could speak English perfectly. I wish I had more time to study. I wish I hadn't eaten that last cookie.
It's good practice for that subjunctive mood, which can be tough. And it lets you express more nuanced feelings.
And again, using your own wishes makes it personal, more engaging emotionally. Helps it sink in.
Right. And finally, they mentioned a memory game. Sounds like a good way to wrap things up and practice storytelling more.
Yeah, basically, make it a habit to recount your previous day. In English, out loud. Yesterday morning, I woke up late. Then I rushed to make coffee. Just tell the story of your day.
Great for using the past tense in context. Telling a little narrative helps you organize your thoughts in English.
And doing it regularly reviews vocabulary and structures about daily life and past events. Reinforces everything.
Wow. And you know, the source, that conversation between Emma and Jake, it actually covers even more ground.
Oh, absolutely. They go into detail about using time expressions correctly, expressing feelings with more nuance, how to describe the weather effectively.
Yeah, and detailing daily activities, the simple power of just reading English text aloud.
Describing the clothes you're wearing, using modal verbs like can and could confidently.
Yeah.
Really focusing on describing objects in detail.
Making and saying your to-do lists in English. Practicing different types of questions, not just simple ones.
Using music. Singing along to English songs to help with pronunciation and rhythm.
Practicing used to for past habits, talking about food descriptions, opinions.
Using have to for obligations, visualization techniques to imagine scenarios.
Even practicing specific situations like shopping or different kinds of phone calls.
Right, and using want to phrases, talking about problems, making more complex comparisons, discussing favorites.
Using adverbs like usually or often in longer sentences, practicing negatives like can't and didn't deliberately.
Using everyday objects as triggers for practice. Imagining asking for help. giving opinions on more complex topics.
And crucially, they talk about self-correction, noticing your mistakes and learning from them, reflecting on your progress.
It's incredibly comprehensive. What's so great about all these strategies is that they really show the solo learner, hey, you can do this.
Yeah, you don't absolutely need a teacher or a partner right there constantly to make real progress with your speaking.
The tools are often right there in your environment, in your head.
Absolutely. So the big takeaway from digging into this pasted text source is just how many practical, easy things you can do to boost your spoken English, even completely on your own.
And the key, as they really stress, is consistency. Doing these things regularly, even for short bursts, adds up over time. That's where the improvement comes from.
It really brings it home that you, the listener, you already have the main resources you need. Your voice, your surroundings, your thoughts, your day.
Which leads to a good question for you to think about. Looking at all these methods we've talked through, which ones kind of click with you? Which ones feel like they'd fit into your life, your learning style?
Maybe some seem more doable or even more, dare I say, fun than others.
Exactly. So here's something to consider, a final thought. Maybe pick just one, or two. One or two of these solo practice ideas that resonated with you today.
And just commit to trying them regularly. Doesn't have to be hours, just consistently, maybe a few minutes each day.
We think you might genuinely surprise yourself with the progress you make. And maybe even more importantly, how much more confident you start to feel about actually speaking English.